Hello and a warm welcome back to the channel of Nonsense, Perfidy and Bolognese and a review of the Peugeot 3008. Now I know what you're thinking, Tim, you've already reviewed the Peugeot 3008 and I sort of have, but the one I reviewed was the E3008. It promised a big range, but it was heavy, the one I drove wasn't that efficient and it was incredibly expensive. So I thought I'd do the sensible thing and book it in, but not as an EV, step away from the EV Kool-Aid and try the basic 1.2 litre petrol. Well, it says it's a hybrid, but it's got a very small motor that kicks in all the time. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I just want to find out if this more basic 3008 with a sensible engine-ish can tempt you away from something like a Volkswagen Tiguan. I'm not totally sure it would, to be honest, but there are some positives to the way this petrol 3008 drives. It's got a 1.2 litre 3-cylinder turbo engine with 136 horsepower. Peugeot calls it a hybrid, but really it's just a strong, mild hybrid. So it's like a Corma or a Passander hybrid, really. It's got a 22 horsepower electric motor, but you can't really drive it around very far at all on electric power alone. And as soon as you put your foot even slightly down, the engine kicks in, which is fine. It's not that quick. 0 to 62 is just over 10 seconds. But does it actually drive better than the E3008? Well, I have to say, it still feels very French. You've got this small steering wheel with quite a quick steering rack, and the suspension is actually reasonably firm, so it doesn't roll as much in the corners as you might expect. But over bumps where the E3008 felt too stiff, too jiggly, too moob troubling, this is a bit better, but it's not that plush still. So yeah, look, if I go over all these cat's eyes, it's a very realistic test, thump, 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 it still feels quite firm. But I guess that's the trade-off for having handling that's actually better than you might think. So no, the 3008 as a petrol is a bit better as a driver's car than the E3008, but it's not turned it into the best in the class. And if I'm being churlish, obviously being a petrol car with a decent sized fuel tank, this will do 500 miles on a tank of fuel. Although the E3008 is getting a bigger battery that can do 420 miles on a charge, it's going to be really big, heavy and expensive, and the regular one does about 320 miles. So yeah, this can go further than the electric one. Are we surprised? No. Turn the speed limit warning off, one press, wait. No, that's the wrong one. Oh, bugger. Oh, bugger, there we go. Confirm. There we go. I've turned the speed limit warning off and I only killed about 16 pheasants. I like the E3008, the small steering wheel and the fast steering rack does mean that when you're doing town driving or lots of junctions and things, you don't really need to turn it as much as you would think for most applications, and parallel parking is very easy thanks to all the cameras and this kind of stuff as well. And that petrol engine's got quite an entertaining gruff note. Now, another thing this does have in common with the E3008 is that it's pretty refined at high speeds on the motorway. As long as the road's not too bumpy, you don't get too much wind noise or tyre noise, making this a decent motorway car. It's not the best. I don't think it's quite as hushed as the new Tiguan, but it's not a million miles away. It feels solid. It feels nice. What a horrible word. But anyway, let's see if there are improvements over the E3008 in any other areas in what I like to call the rest of the video. Well, it's certainly improved the price. This 1.2 petrol starts from £35,000 in entry-level Hallour form. That is £11,000 cheaper than the cheapest electric 3008. £11,000, and trust me, in a year's time there'll be the same price on the used market, because that's just what's happening to EV residual values at the moment. But anyway, this is a top spec GT model. It costs from £38,500. If you wanted the GT model of the E3008, well, you might as well save up for Tutankhamun's gold-plated butter plug, because that's 50 grand. 38.5 seems a bit more sensible. For your money, you get matrix LED headlights, you get the LED fangs down here, you get fancier lights at the back on GT models, slightly different wheels, and some extra bits and pieces on the inside. I still think it's an okay looking car, but I almost now don't think it looks as nice as the old 3008, but that came in some really bright colours. This grey 750 quid. The free colour you get is Obsession Blue, which is a complicated flip-floppy blue colour that looks amazing when the sun comes out, so I don't know why you'd pay more money to have it look like the inside of a PlayStation 1. But maybe that's just me. Now, like all modern Peugeots, the inside is actually a real rival for the Germans, and actually it does everything with a bit more style and panache, I think, personally. Obviously, you've got a small steering wheel. It wouldn't be a Peugeot if you didn't have a small steering wheel. In this car, it's actually really easy to see the big digital driver's display. Peugeot calls this a 21-inch screen. I guess it is really. This half is touchscreen, obviously, for the infotainment. It's got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and you've got the eye toggles down here, which have been improved since the 408. So you now get 2 banks you can swipe through with shortcuts, and you can customize all of that stuff. You get some physical controls for your demisters and things here, but to change temperature, you do have to go through the touch screen up here and then do this. It's a little bit of a faff when you're driving. Steering wheel buttons are okay to use. It's actually okay in here. I quite like it. I like all the cloth. It lights up at night and looks really quite premium. This thing here, this center console, does make you think they've not changed that for right-hand drive cars, but they have. In the French one, it goes the other way. In the French one, I mean, in the left-hand drive model, it all goes that way. So you've got your drive mode selected there, volume. So you've got a little cubby hole down here with some USB-Cs in, cup holders, and a non-adjustable armrest here, which is actually a massive well. The glove box, should we do it? Let me brighten you up. The glove box is pathetic half width there. God, 1066 and all that. Did we learn nothing? What was it for? What was the point if we get half width glove box? But anyway, it's very nicely designed in here. The focal sound system is actually very good, and the sunroof is okay, but as I've mentioned, or as I will mention in a minute, it does eat into your headroom. You've got sunglasses holder as well. Whoopee! Rear seat space in the 3008 is actually okay. I've got knee room, I've got foot room, and my head hits the roof when I lean all the way back because of their sloping roof. I'm 6'3", so I'm quite tall. That's my driving position. I've got some nets here for storing stuff. Big door pockets, but they do intrude onto the door opening quite a bit. And I've got 2 USB-Cs down here. Now, these door moldings are quite chunky, and they do eat into the access into the cabin. And the first time you fit child seats, you've got to unzip the ISOFIX point covers, just like in every other modern Peugeot, and it does feel like those zips are going to snap off the first time you do it. They never have done. It's just a bit fiddly the first time you do it. You've got a pretty flat floor in here, but there's not much space for your middle seat passenger's legs because there's quite a chunky centre console here. I've got an armrest. It's okay back here. This one's got a sunroof, and I think I'd probably have a bit more headroom without it, but yeah, if you're 6'3" or much taller, you're not going to have a lovely time back here, to be honest. It's just that. We're being trendy, trying to make everything a coupe. Stop it, stop it. Now, because this generation of the 3008 was designed to be an electric car first and foremost, it had to be more aerodynamic, which is why you've got the sloping coupe roofline of doom. Helps with your electric range, doesn't help when you're trying to fit big bulky items into the boot. So yeah, it's a 520 litre space. On paper, that is about the same as a Nissan Qashqai-ish, but a bit behind things like the Ford Kuga and the Kia Sportage. But it's still a big space, and it's got some cool tricks like the floor, which holds itself up really easily. That was really easy, not a problem there. On those little 2 clips there, and then you've got quite a bit of space under the boot floor. You've also got a 12-volt socket, and that's about it. It's an okay boot. It's just if you're loading big cubey things, they'll hit the glass quite easily because of that sloping roofline. You get a reversing camera and rear sensors on all models. GT line adds front sensors, and for 600 quid, you can add a 360-degree camera, not an Xbox 360. That would be better. We can all play Project Gotham Racing 3. The one with the snow and the motorbikes. That was awesome. Now, confusingly for me, I've already done the driving bit of this car, so you know how it drives. So I guess the only thing left to do is to conclude. Wearing my burgundy jacket. Let's conclude. All right, time to sum up my thoughts on the Peugeot 3008 in petrol form. I prefer it to the E3008. I just prefer having a petrol engine. It makes it feel lighter. It is a lot lighter, and also 11 grand cheaper. Makes it feel like this is the car that Peugeot actually wants you to go and buy. Now, I do have some nits to pick with it though. The rear headroom is not great because of that sloping roofline, and the boot isn't quite as practical as its rivals, but it's quite efficient. I've been getting 48 mpg out of it. You can do 500 miles in it, and it looks reasonably stylish, I think. However, The fly in the ointment is that the Kia Sportage does most everything better than this does, and also there's now the Peugeot 5008, which is a 7-seater version of this, which doesn't have the sloping roofline and adds a third row of seats. Yes, it is £2,000 more, £2,500 more, but in the scheme of things, that isn't a huge amount. There's an electric version of that if you really like setting fire to all of your money. So I can't actually remember what Tim Rodey rating I gave the E3008, and I'm too lazy to go back and watch my own videos. I reckon I gave it 7. I'm going to upgrade this, the petrol version, to 7.5. It is better, it is lighter, it is just more practical for the real world, but I'd probably still go and buy a Kia Sportage or a Hyundai Tucson, or maybe even the new Volkswagen Tiguan, even though that was quite underwhelming as well. But anyway, the farmer's coming to kick me off his land, so please like this video, subscribe to the channel, go down to the comments, and leave me the French word for, where's your colourful jacket gone? Goodbye.